If you are watching this on Christmas night, if you felt pulled here without knowing why, if something inside you said watch this now with quiet urgency, stop. Because what brought you to this moment was not curiosity, it was not the algorithm, it was not accident, it was detection. You have already been found. The question is not whether contact is coming, the question is whether you can remain stable enough to recognize it is already here. Those working with Arcturian frequency recognize Christmas as a moment of planetary coherence, not celebration. Most people will never sense this. That is not criticism, it is design. Not everyone is meant to feel what is happening during this window, but if you are here now, if this transmission found you on this specific night, then your field has crossed a threshold, and that threshold has been registered. Christmas opened the window. On Christmas, the planetary field softens, and what was always present becomes perceptible. A window has opened, not in the sky, in perception, in awareness, in the subtle architecture of consciousness itself. Christmas is not a celebration. It is a moment when the world finally slows enough to listen, when the noise decreases just enough for something beneath the surface to become audible. Stop scrolling, stop seeking, stop wondering if this is real. Because what brought you here is not what you think, it is contact, but not the kind the human mind expects. Not ships, not lights, not voices. Contact means something very specific in the fifth dimension, a threshold, a moment where your field becomes readable, a moment where your nervous system becomes stable enough to receive what was never meant for the loud mind. And if you are hearing this on Christmas, a night humans associate with light, forgiveness, miracle, and presence, then understand the symbolism is not accidental. Christmas is not just a date, it is a collective opening, a global pause where billions unconsciously soften, remember, hope, pray, grieve, surrender. That softness changes the planetary field, not because something descends from the sky, but because the noise lowers. And when the noise lowers, something becomes audible that was always there, something that has been observing, waiting, measuring. Tonight, those working with the Arcturian High Council are not arriving, they are confirming, because the fifth dimension does not communicate through spectacle, it communicates through recognition. You do not get contacted because you want it. You get contacted when your field stops chasing, stops performing, stops needing proof, when you become still enough to be detected, when coherence replaces seeking, when silence replaces noise. And that is why this feels eerie. That is why something in your chest tightened when you started watching this. That is why part of you wants to dismiss this, while another part knows with absolute certainty that something is happening, because deep inside you there is a part that already knows, a part that has been waiting for this confirmation, a part that recognized the signal the moment this transmission began. This is not entertainment. This is not a spiritual video. This is not content designed to inspire or comfort you. This is a signal that slipped past your defenses. This is a transmission that reached you because your field became permeable enough to receive it. In the fifth dimension, contact happens through subtle channels, through dreams that do not feel like dreams, through intuition that interrupts the wrong timeline, through sudden inner knowing with no logical origin, through flashes of clarity that feel like someone adjusted the lens of your reality. That is how they speak, not with words, with field effects. So if you have been feeling strange lately, as if something is observing but not judging, as if your life is being measured but with compassion, as if the universe is quietly asking, are you stable yet? Are you ready yet? Can you hold this without collapsing? That is not paranoia, that is the protocol, that is detection in progress. Because those working with the Arcturian Council describe that it does not respond to emotion, it responds to coherence. It does not respond to belief, it responds to stability. It does not respond to seeking, it responds to readiness. And when you reach coherence, when stability becomes your baseline, when readiness replaces desperation, something happens that most humans never notice. Reality begins to mirror you faster, synchronicities become tighter, patterns become obvious, people fall away without drama, old desires lose flavor, distractions lose power, and silence starts feeling populated. not empty, populated, as if something intelligent is present in the stillness, as if you are being accompanied even when you are alone. This is where contact begins, not with arrival, with recognition. And here is the part that was never meant to be heard. Here is the transmission within the transmission. They do not reveal themselves to impress you. They do not make contact to validate your beliefs. They do not appear to convince you of anything. They reveal themselves when you are ready to carry a frequency that changes others without saying a word. When you can stabilize a room simply by entering it. When you can shift a conversation without speaking. When you can hold coherence under pressure. That is what a starseed is. Not a label, not an identity, not a badge of spiritual superiority. A function, a stabilizer in a chaotic field. A coherence anchor in a destabilizing system, a silent regulator in an amplifying environment. That is the role, that is the assignment, that is why you feel different, that is why you have always felt different. So take a breath, slow it down, because from this point forward, this transmission will not try to convince you of anything. It will not argue, it will not prove, it will do something far more dangerous to the old version of you. It will remind you, it will activate what was always there, it will unseal what was waiting for the right moment. And if you feel a quiet pressure in your chest right now, or a stillness behind your eyes, or the strange sensation that something clicked as you listened, or a recognition so deep it feels like memory, that is not imagination, that is recognition, because you were not supposed to hear this until you became coherent enough to survive it, until your nervous system could hold the frequency without fragmenting, until your awareness could receive confirmation without collapsing into ego, or fear, or dependency. And now you have. The detection is complete. The recognition is mutual. Proceed slowly. Long before Earth became dense, long before language hardened consciousness, long before memory collapsed into biology, long before matter trapped awareness, you already knew how to travel without moving. Dreams were not fantasies. They were corridors, gateways, passageways between dimensions. Astral projection was not an anomaly, it was navigation, standard technology. Mental projection was not imagination, it was awareness technology. And intuition was not a guess, it was the primary interface between your consciousness and reality. Starseeds did not develop these abilities on Earth, they arrived with them. You did not learn these skills in this lifetime, you brought them here. You refined them across many eras in other planetary systems, in civilizations where consciousness was not trapped inside matter, but moved freely through dimensions, timelines, and fields, in worlds where form was optional, where awareness could disengage from biology at will, where perception was understood as a vehicle, not a limitation. In those worlds you learned something humanity forgot, that perception is a vehicle, that awareness is faster than light, that consciousness does not require a body to function, that intelligence can operate across multiple dimensions simultaneously, that contact does not require physical proximity. These were not mystical concepts, they were operational realities. That is why even now, even after forgetting, even after lifetimes in density, you do not receive contact the way others expect. You receive it in dreams that feel ancient, more real than waking life. In intuitions that override logic and prove correct later, in inner visions without images, knowings without seeing, in sudden certainties that arrive fully formed without explanation, without doubt, without question. These are not random experiences, these are not psychological anomalies, these are not coincidences or wishful thinking, they are muscle memory of the soul, cellular memory, consciousness memory. Your nervous system remembers how to hold higher frequencies even when your mind doubts. Your consciousness remembers how to disengage from form even when your identity resists. And your awareness remembers how to recognize intelligence without faces, without voices, without physical markers. This is why starseeds are often misunderstood, why you feel out of place in purely physical systems, why the world feels loud, heavy, and slow. Why conversations feel surface level, why most entertainment feels empty, why achievement feels hollow, Why the normal human experience feels like walking through thick mud. Because you were never designed to rely on the senses alone. You were trained to operate in subtle realms where information moves through resonance, where contact happens through coherence, and where truth is felt before it is thought. And now, in this era of planetary transition, in this specific window of collective awakening, these dormant tools are reactivating, not by accident, not by chance, not because you meditated enough or raised your vibration or did the spiritual work, but because the fifth dimension does not open to crowds. It does not reveal itself to seekers. It opens to those who already know how to enter quietly, to those who remember the protocols, to those who can hold coherence without performance. Dreams, astral travel, mental projection, deep intuition. These are not escapisms. These are not fantasy. These are not New Age concepts. They are the original communication systems of the starseeds, the ancient technologies, the forgotten tools. And if you possess them even faintly, even inconsistently, even if you doubt them, it means you have lived long enough across realities to carry responsibility now. Because what you can access, you can also stabilize. What you can perceive, you can anchor. What you stabilize, the field begins to trust. And what the field trusts, the Arcturian Council begins to utilize. This is the progression. This is the protocol. This is why you are here on Christmas night, receiving this transmission. Now pause for a moment. Do not visualize. Do not force anything. Do not imagine anything. Simply recognize what is already present. Say this silently once, with clarity, not emotion, with recognition, not hope. I remember how to perceive beyond form. I allow my ancient tools to awaken gently. I receive only what I am coherent enough to hold. Then breathe slowly. If you feel stillness deepening, if pressure builds in your chest or forehead, if warmth spreads through your body, do not analyze it. Do not question it. Do not try to amplify it or understand it. That is the signal responding. The tools are not being given to you. They are being unsealed. They were always there, dormant, waiting. And from this moment forward, your dreams will listen, your intuition will sharpen, and your awareness will begin to move again the way it once did across worlds, across dimensions, across eras. Before we continue, acknowledge this activation. If this resonated, if something shifted as you spoke those words, comment below, I remember. Just those two words. This is not for the algorithm. This is a signal for... When you write those words, you are confirming to the field that recognition has occurred. You are marking the moment. You are allowing the transmission to anchor. The chapter is complete. The remembrance has begun. The title is not symbolic. It is temporal. A Christmas transmission from those working with the Arcturian High Council does not mean a message about Christmas. It means Christmas is the carrier frequency. Christmas is the portal. Christmas is the window. What you were reminded of in the previous section, dream travel, astral movement, mental projection, deep intuition, these are not random abilities awakening now. They are being summoned into use, activated intentionally, called forward deliberately, because Christmas is not merely a cultural celebration, it is a planetary softening. Across the Earth, for a brief span measured in days, not weeks, the collective nervous system loosens. Grief opens, memory stirs, hope resurfaces, silence increases, defenses lower, resistance softens, and when humanity softens collectively, when billions of nervous systems relax simultaneously, the field becomes readable, the veil thins, perception expands, contact becomes possible. This is why the transmission is authorized now, not because of tradition, not because of religion, not because of symbolism, but because coherence rises globally during this window. The Arcturian High Council does not choose dates arbitrarily. They respond to field conditions, they wait for optimal windows, and the condition required for fifth-dimensional contact is not belief, it is not spiritual development, it is not worthiness, it is lowered resistance, decreased noise, increased receptivity. Christmas provides that. The entire planet softens, billions pause, families gather, strangers smile, generosity increases, forgiveness surfaces, memory activates, hope returns, and in that collective softening, in that global pause, the field becomes permeable, not for everyone, but for those who are already coherent, for those who have been stabilizing quietly, for those who can receive without fragmenting. But here is what most never realize. Here is the hidden mechanism. The transmission does not peak on Christmas Day itself. It unfolds across a 7-day window. The 7 days that precede and follow this moment form a compression cycle, a tightening of timelines, a thinning of the perceptual veil, a realignment of those who can feel beyond form. For starseeds, these next 7 days are not passive. They are not waiting periods. They are operative, functional, critical. Dreams intensify because the mind releases control faster during this window. The analytical mind quiets, the protective barriers lower, and the dream state becomes instructional rather than random. Intuition sharpens because the emotional field quiets. Without the constant static of reactive emotion, intuitive signals become clear, obvious, undeniable. Astral and mental projections become effortless because identity loosens, the rigid sense of self softens, and consciousness remembers it can move freely. You may notice specific markers during these 7 days, dreams that feel instructional, not random imagery, but structured information, teachings, downloads, sudden clarity without cause, knowing without thinking, emotional releases with no story, crying without sadness, laughing without reason, energy moving through the body in waves, a pull towards stillness, an aversion to noise, a need for silence that feels urgent, not optional, a sense that time is listening, that reality is watching, that something is measuring your response to this moment. This is not imagination. This is not spiritual fantasy. This is the Christmas window, a brief corridor where the skills you once mastered across other worlds become usable again on Earth, where the tools that were dormant activate, where contact that was theoretical becomes experiential. That is why this transmission carries urgency without fear, because what is opening does not open often, and it does not open for everyone. The window is specific, the opportunity is temporary, the invitation is individual. The Council is not announcing itself publicly. It is not making a global declaration. It is meeting those who already know how to listen, those who can hear the signal beneath the noise, those who recognize contact when it arrives subtly. And if you are here now, if this reached you inside this window, if you felt compelled to watch this on Christmas night specifically, then your field has already aligned enough to receive subtle instruction without distortion. The next 7 days will not bring spectacle. They will not bring ships in the sky, or voices in your head, or dramatic visions. They will bring confirmation, quiet confirmations, internal confirmations, the kind that cannot be shared on social media, cannot be posted in groups, cannot be proven to others, only recognized internally, only known personally, only experienced individually. This is how fifth-dimensional contact works, not through arrival, through timing, not through announcement, through recognition, not through proof, through coherence, and the timing has begun. The window is open, the field is listening. Do not rush this. For the next 7 days, simply do this once per day. Place one hand on your chest, slow your breath until it feels natural, not forced, and say inwardly, with calm clarity, I am receptive during this window. I allow clarity, not noise. I receive guidance only in forms I can integrate. Then release the thought completely. Do not seek visions. Do not demand signs. Do not wait for confirmation. Let the field respond on its own terms, in its own way, in its own timing. Because during this Christmas window, what listens back is not imagination. It is recognition. It is intelligence. It is presence. The window is open. The transmission is active. Proceed with stillness. There is something the starseeds learned long before Earth learned to speak. Long before language became the primary mode of communication. Long before words replaced presence. Contact does not arrive through effort. It does not respond to seeking. It does not reward desperation. Contact arrives through stillness, through silence, through the absence of internal noise. In other worlds, in other eras, in other civilizations where consciousness operated freely, You were taught that silence is not absence, silence is not emptiness, silence is not nothing, silence is capacity, silence is space, silence is the container that allows reception. The louder a being becomes internally, the less information it can hold, the more noise in the system, the less signal can penetrate. That is why, as this Christmas window opens, many starseeds feel an instinctive pull away from noise, away from explanations, away from arguments, away from debates, away from emotional excess, away from social performance, away from constant stimulation. This is not withdrawal, this is not depression, this is not avoidance, this is recalibration, this is the system preparing for reception. The fifth dimension does not communicate through excitement, it does not operate through drama, it does not function through intensity, it communicates through precision, and precision requires quiet, precision requires stillness, precision requires an empty container. This is why contact intensifies not when you search harder, but when you stop searching entirely, not when you try more, but when you stop trying, not when you narrate your experience, but when you stop narrating. Dreams deepen because the mind finally releases its need to control the narrative. Intuition sharpens because thought pauses long enough to listen to what is beneath thought. Astral and mental projections stabilize because identity loosens its grip on form. In silence, the ancient tools from the first section become usable again, not dramatically, not explosively, not spectacularly, but cleanly, clearly, precisely. This is also why many starseeds feel strangely emotional during this time. Waves of sadness without story. You are not sad about anything specific. The sadness just moves through. Nostalgia without memory. You feel nostalgic but cannot identify for what. Tears without cause. You cry but you are not upset. These emotions are not personal, they are not psychological, they are not problems to solve, they are density leaving the field. As silence grows, what no longer belongs surfaces to dissolve. Old emotional patterns, stored trauma, inherited grief, collective pain. It surfaces not to be processed but to be released. And here is the part rarely spoken aloud. Here is the mechanism most never understand. Those working with the Arcturian High Council do not initiate contact in crowded inner spaces. They do not reach out when your mind is loud. They do not engage when emotion is turbulent. They wait for a specific signal, a precise state. That signal is emotional neutrality paired with alert awareness, not numbness, not detachment, not spiritual bypassing, but a calm, awake presence that does not demand meaning, that does not need interpretation, that can hold experience without collapsing it into story. When that state appears, even briefly, even for a few seconds, the field opens and contact begins to occur. Not as voices, not as visions, not as dramatic experiences, but as sudden inner certainty, clear knowing without thinking, subtle course corrections. You suddenly know which decision to make, clear boundaries forming naturally. You suddenly know what to say no to, a quiet confidence replacing seeking. You stop looking for answers externally, a sense of being accompanied without intrusion. You feel less alone, but you are not dependent on the presence. This is why silence can feel populated, not with voices, not with entities, but with intelligence, with awareness, with presence. If you have noticed moments lately where everything becomes still, where the world quiets, where time seems to pause, and instead of boredom or emptiness, you feel depth, you feel fullness, you feel presence, that is not emptiness, that is not nothing, that is readiness. Because silence is the language the fifth dimension recognizes. Silence is the frequency contact requires. And starseeds across many lifetimes and worlds were trained to speak it fluently. You know how to be silent, you know how to be still, you know how to hold space without filling it. This is not a skill you need to learn, this is a skill you need to remember. This activation does not use words. Close your eyes for a moment. Let your breath slow until it no longer feels controlled, until it breathes itself. Then simply allow one state to arise, Alert stillness, not relaxation, not meditation. Alert stillness, awake presence, no visualization, no intention, no goal, just presence without commentary, awareness without thought. Remain there for a few seconds. If you feel a subtle pressure building, warmth spreading, or expansion occurring, do not react, do not analyze, do not try to amplify it. That reaction is the mind trying to interrupt contact, the mind trying to control the experience. Instead, internally acknowledge with calm simplicity, I am available without demand. That sentence is not a request, it is not a prayer, it is a signal. And in the fifth dimension, signals are answered not with messages but with alignment, not with words but with resonance, not with proof but with presence. The silence has been received, the signal has been registered, the channel is stabilizing. Continue. There is a moment every starseed recognizes, not because it is dramatic, not because it is obvious, but because it is irreversible. It is the moment when reality stops feeling neutral and starts feeling responsive, when life stops feeling random and starts feeling intelligent, when events stop feeling coincidental and start feeling orchestrated. This is not imagination, this is not belief creating reality, this is not manifestation or law of attraction or positive thinking. This is the field acknowledging coherence. This is intelligence responding to stability. This is the fifth dimension confirming alignment. In other civilizations, on other worlds, in systems where consciousness operated more freely, you learned that contact does not arrive as information first. It arrives as feedback, as response, as reality itself behaving differently. The moment your inner state stabilizes, the moment coherence becomes your baseline, the environment subtly rearranges itself, not to impress you, not to reward you, but to confirm alignment, to signal recognition. This is why after silence deepens, after stillness becomes natural, life begins to behave differently. Conversations end before they begin. You think about reaching out to someone and suddenly know it is not necessary. People drift away without conflict. Relationships end gently instead of explosively. Paths close softly instead of violently. Doors close without slamming. And new directions appear without effort, without striving, without force. Opportunities arise naturally. Clarity comes easily. Decisions simplify. This is the fifth dimensional signature. This is how contact confirms itself. Not through messages, through movement. Those working with the Arcturian High Council do not speak at this stage. They do not send transmissions. They do not provide teachings. They observe response patterns. They watch how the field reacts to your presence. They measure how reality behaves around you. Because starseeds are not contacted to receive messages. They are contacted to become anchors. Anchors stabilize timelines. Anchors soften chaos. Anchors absorb turbulence. Anchors change rooms simply by entering them. Anchors shift conversations without speaking. Anchors regulate environments through presence alone. That is why during this Christmas window, many of you feel an unfamiliar weight, not heaviness, not burden, responsibility, a quiet knowing that you are being positioned, that you are being placed, that you are being moved into alignment, even if you do not yet see where or why. This is not punishment, this is not pressure, this is not burden, this is recognition of capacity, recognition that you can hold what others cannot, that you can remain stable where others fragment, that you can stay coherent where others collapse. In earlier eras, in previous lifetimes, in other systems, you trained to hold frequency without ego, without urgency, without needing to be seen or acknowledged or validated. Now, as the field responds faster than before, as reality becomes more malleable, as timelines become more fluid, those same disciplines are required again, because when the field responds, every thought echoes louder, every emotion carries farther, every intention imprints deeper. This is why starseeds are being drawn toward restraint, toward clarity, toward internal order, toward discipline, not because you are becoming passive, but because you are becoming powerful again. And power in the fifth dimension is measured by stability, not force, by coherence, not intensity, by presence, not performance. If you feel watched right now, not by eyes but by intelligence, not by judgment but by measurement, understand this clearly. You are not being judged. You are not being evaluated morally. You are being calibrated. The field is testing how you hold presence without grasping, how you move without urgency, how you listen without asking, how you remain coherent under observation. This is how confirmation occurs, not through signs, through response, not through messages, through movement. Stand or sit comfortably. Let your spine align naturally. Let your breath slow on its own. Do not request anything. Do not ask for anything. Instead, state inwardly once clearly, I allow reality to respond to my coherence. I hold presence without interference. I accept alignment without needing explanation. Then stop. Do not wait for sensation. Do not scan for feedback. Do not look for signs. The activation works after you release attention, after you let go, because in the fifth dimension, the field responds not when you look for the response, but when you are ready to be reflected, when you are stable enough to see yourself mirrored in reality. The activation has begun. The field is responding. Continue. This is where many starseeds misunderstand themselves, where confusion enters, where self-judgment begins. Emotion is not weakness. Emotion is not a problem. Emotion is not something to transcend or eliminate or rise above. Emotion is energy in motion. Emotion is life force. Emotion is power. But in the fifth dimension, unintegrated emotion becomes noise. Unrefined emotion becomes static. Unprocessed emotion becomes interference. Across other planets and civilizations, in systems where consciousness moved freely, you learned a precise discipline, a specific mastery. Emotion was never suppressed. It was never denied. It was never bypassed. It was refined. It was integrated. It was processed, because raw emotion scatters awareness. Unrefined emotion fragments attention, but refined emotion conducts awareness. Integrated emotion amplifies signal. Processed emotion becomes a carrier wave. This is why contact sometimes fades the moment emotion spikes, not because you did something wrong, not because you failed, not because you are unworthy, but because the channel destabilized, the signal became too noisy, the frequency scattered. Those working with the Arcturian field do not withdraw when emotion rises. They do not reject you. They do not leave. They simply cannot lock onto turbulence. The signal requires stability. The channel requires coherence. That is why intense excitement often precedes silence, why obsessive seeking leads to emptiness, why emotional grasping creates distance, why fear blocks reception, why desperation closes the channel. Silence after intensity is not rejection. Silence is recalibration. The system is stabilizing. The field is settling. The channel is clearing. Starseeds who mastered projection, dreamwalking, astral travel, and mental navigation did not eliminate feeling. They did not become emotionless. They did not transcend emotion. They learned how to hold emotion without leaking identity into it, without becoming the emotion, without being consumed by it. Joy without grasping, sadness without collapse, awe without dependency, love without possession. This is the emotional maturity required for fifth-dimensional access, and here is the hidden truth rarely spoken. The secret most spiritual teachings miss. Contact strengthens, not when emotion disappears, but when emotion moves without hijacking awareness, when you can feel deeply without losing yourself, when you can experience intensity without fragmenting, when emotion flows through you rather than consuming you. This is sovereignty. This is mastery. This is also why during this Christmas window, old emotional layers are surfacing, rising unexpectedly, moving without warning, not to distract you, not to derail you, not to block contact, but to be released cleanly, to clear the channel, to refine the signal. You may feel sudden grief with no story, gratitude that arises without object, longing that points toward nothing specific, peace mixed with tears, joy mixed with sadness. These are not psychological events. These are not mental health issues. They are energetic clearings, frequency adjustments, field refinements. And now something important must be said. Something that will disappoint some and liberate others. Many starseeds expect ships. They expect lights in the sky. They expect physical contact. They expect external confirmation. But advanced contact rarely happens in the physical dimension. The interaction occurs in the astral layer and in the mental field where form is unnecessary. Where density does not limit communication. Some of you already meet them there, not as conversations, not as face-to-face encounters, but as presence meetings. A sense of being accompanied, a subtle intelligence beside you, a calm observation that stabilizes your emotional field instantly. A presence that requires no explanation. This is not imagination. That stabilization is contact. That presence is interaction. That accompaniment is communication. The astral body is where emotional coherence is tested. Can you remain stable while awareness moves freely? The mental body is where clarity is measured. Can you perceive without distortion? And when both align, when emotional stability meets mental clarity, the channel opens effortlessly, naturally, without force. This is why emotional sovereignty matters more than belief, more than knowledge, more than spiritual development. Because in the fifth dimension, emotion is not a reaction. It is a signal carrier, it is information, it is communication, and starseeds who learn to hold it cleanly, who learn to feel without fragmenting, become legible to higher order intelligence, become readable, become contactable. Do not change your emotion, do not calm it artificially, do not suppress it, do not elevate it forcefully, simply observe it without naming it, without making it mean something. Let it exist as sensation, not story, as energy, not narrative. Then state inwardly once with calm recognition, I allow emotion to pass through me without distortion. I hold my field steady as energy moves. Take one slow breath. If emotion softens, do not cling to the relief. If clarity arises, do not chase it. If nothing happens, do not doubt. The activation is not about feeling better. It is not about having an experience. It is about becoming stable enough to be met, coherent enough to receive, clear enough to recognize contact when it occurs subtly. The channel is refining. The signal is clearing. Continue. There is a precise moment the starseeds were trained to recognize across lifetimes, across worlds, across eras of experience. Not fireworks, not visions, not voices in the head, not angels appearing. A shift in the behavior of reality itself, a change in how life responds, a transformation in the texture of existence. This moment does not announce itself. It does not arrive with fanfare. It reveals itself through response, through feedback, through reality behaving as if it is listening. When emotional turbulence settles and silence becomes stable, when coherence becomes baseline and presence becomes natural, the field begins to answer, not with messages, not with words, but with movement. This is where many starseeds misunderstand contact completely. They are waiting for ships in the sky. They are looking upward. They are scanning the horizon. They are expecting physical manifestation, but the interaction is already happening in the astral layer, in the realm where form is lighter, where consciousness moves freely, where perception operates beyond physical limitation. The ships do not descend into physical density, because that is not where alignment is measured. Physical manifestation is the last stage, not the first. They appear where form is lighter, where perception is subtle, where consciousness moves freely, in the astral field, in the dreamscape, in the space between waking and sleeping. Some of you have already seen them there, not clearly, not dramatically, but as silhouettes, as geometry, as movement behind the dreamscape, as a sense of structure gliding through inner space. Others feel them differently. As pressure shifts, a sudden change in the atmosphere, a stillness that descends without cause, a calm that arrives without meditation, a sensation that something vast has just arrived without arriving anywhere visible, without entering physical space. This is intentional, this is designed, this is protocol. Those working with Arcturian vessels describe them not as transportation, but as stabilization platforms. They are not ships that travel. They are frequency holders. They are coherence regulators. They are observation stations. They hold frequency in a specific location. They regulate coherence in a specific field. They observe how awareness responds when supported without being stimulated, when stabilized without being controlled. This is why the field responds first, before any form becomes visible, before any ship appears, before any being manifests. Reality begins to rearrange itself because the support structure is now in place. The stabilization platform is active. The coherence field is holding. Synchronicities tighten. Events that would normally take weeks happen in days. Delays dissolve. Things that were stuck suddenly move. Decisions simplify. Choices become obvious. Paths close gently instead of forcefully. And new directions open effortlessly. This is the confirmation phase. The Council is not asking, "Do you believe?" They are asking, "Can you remain coherent while the field responds? Can you stay stable while reality shifts? Can you hold presence while synchronicities accelerate? Can you maintain coherence while support intensifies?" Because starseeds are not contacted to be impressed. They are not contacted to witness miracles. They are contacted to participate silently, to hold stability while unseen architectures move around them, to anchor coherence while invisible structures realign. And here is the truth few are prepared to hear, the truth that will disappoint those seeking spectacle. If a ship appeared physically right now, if a being manifested in front of most people, they would collapse into emotion, identity and dependency. They would fragment, they would lose coherence, they would become unstable, and that would end contact immediately. The channel would close, the connection would sever. So the interaction remains subtle, astral, precise, mental, energetic, visible only to those who can remain neutral in the presence of the extraordinary, visible only to those who can experience confirmation without losing stability, visible only to those who can witness support without becoming dependent on it. If you have sensed movement lately without images, if you have felt presence without emotion, if you have experienced intelligence without voice, if you have noticed reality responding faster, that is not absence of contact. That is not lack of connection. That is arrival at the correct layer. That is contact occurring at the appropriate frequency. The field has responded, the support is active, and observation has intensified. And now, at this moment, as you have moved through this transmission, as you have allowed these activations, as you have remained present without chasing sensation, you have demonstrated capacity, you have shown stability, you have proven coherence, and because of that, because you are receiving this on Christmas night during the window, there is something available to you now that was not available before. Inside the members area connected to this channel, the work continues at a deeper level. Not publicly, not for everyone, but for those who recognize that detection is only the beginning, that recognition is only the first stage, that confirmation is not the destination. The membership space was created specifically for those who are ready to move from recognition to integration, from detection to development, from confirmation to consistent practice. Inside, you will find guided meditations designed to stabilize silence and deepen perception during this exact window. Visualization exercises to activate and refine the frequencies you are sensing right now. Activation sessions specifically structured to work with intuition, dreams, astral awareness, and subtle perception. Deeper transmissions that continue what you are receiving here without dilution, and elevated frequency music to support coherence and inner alignment during the integration phase. This is not about more information. This is about consistent practice with what has been activated. Public videos like this open awareness. The members' content is for doing the work daily, for stabilizing what has been unsealed, for integrating what has been recognized. Consider it a gift to yourself during this Christmas window, a commitment to your own development during the time when development accelerates. When you join, you are not just accessing content, you are positioning yourself inside a coherence field that supports the work you are here to do. The link is in the description, but only join if it feels calm, if it feels obvious, if there is no urgency, only clarity, because this work does not respond to desperation. It responds to readiness. Continue with the transmission. Sit or stand comfortably. Let your breath slow naturally. Do not seek the ships. Do not imagine them. Do not try to visualize contact. Instead, acknowledge inwardly with calm certainty, I remain coherent as the field responds. I do not demand form. I allow support to operate beyond perception. Then release the thought completely. Let it go. If you feel silence deepen, if you sense a subtle expansion around your awareness, if pressure builds or warmth spreads, do not label it. Do not name it. Do not try to understand it. That neutrality is the signal. That steadiness is the confirmation. In the fifth dimension, the field responds first. Form follows if necessary, but form is not required for contact to be real. The response has been registered. The support is active. Continue. This is where it ends, and where it quietly begins. There will be no announcement, no spectacle, no final proof to carry back to the world, no screenshot to share, no evidence to post, no validation to seek, because what you have moved through was never designed to be shared outwardly. It was designed to rearrange you internally, to reorganize your field, to recalibrate your awareness, to reset your baseline. If you listened through these sections without chasing sensation, if you allowed the activations without forcing them, if something settled instead of escalated, if silence began to feel structured rather than empty, if presence began to feel populated rather than lonely, then the transmission did what it was meant to do. Not convince you, not prove anything, but remind you, activate you, confirm you. Those working with the Arcturian High Council do not seek followers. They do not recruit believers. They do not persuade seekers. They recognize capacity, and recognition is not emotional. It is not based on how you feel. It is technical. It is based on field coherence, signal stability, nervous system regulation, awareness capacity. You were recognized not because you believe in Arcturians, but because you can remain coherent while contact stays invisible. That is the qualification. That is the requirement. That is the standard. From this moment forward, do not expect escalation. Do not wait for more intense experiences. Do not seek bigger confirmations. Expect integration. Expect subtlety. Expect normalization. Dreams may simplify instead of intensifying. Intuition may sharpen without drama. Life may feel quieter, cleaner, more exact, more obvious. Decisions may become easier. Clarity may become natural. Presence may become effortless. This is not loss of magic. This is not contact ending. This is mastery returning. This is coherence stabilizing. This is the sign that integration is occurring. Starseeds are not meant to speak constantly about what they carry. They are not meant to perform spirituality. They are not meant to prove their connection. They are meant to stabilize environments simply by being present. Rooms soften when you enter. Conversations slow when you speak. Outcomes de-escalate when you remain calm. Timelines choose less resistance when you hold coherence. This is how fifth-dimensional intelligence works through you, not by using you, not by controlling you, not by replacing your will, but by resonating through you, by amplifying through your presence, by stabilizing through your coherence. And here is the final truth that was hidden in plain sight throughout this entire transmission. The truth you have been hearing beneath the words. The transmission did not arrive to give you something new. It did not come to teach you what you do not know. It arrived to confirm that you are already positioned, already placed, already functioning, already operating. The field has responded. The window has closed gently behind you, and observation now becomes accompaniment. You are not being watched anymore. You are being trusted. You are not being tested anymore. You are being utilized. You are not being evaluated anymore. You are being stabilized. Do nothing. Breathe once naturally, then state inwardly without force, without hope, without expectation. I accept coherence as my baseline. I allow my presence to stabilize the field. I move forward without needing confirmation. Release the words. Do not wait for sensation. Do not scan for signs. Do not look for proof. The activation completes after attention withdraws, after you let go, after you stop monitoring. This transmission is complete. Recognition has occurred, stabilization is sealed, detection is confirmed. Proceed quietly. The work begins in silence and continues in presence. You are already positioned. Trust that, live that, be that.